Welcome back to another episode of Interesting and Sexy, a podcast dedicated to spreading the awareness and visibility of intersex people, as well as discussing issues/experiences about queer life, being different, and all things interesting and sexy. Today we have our first in-person interview, which is really exciting. And this is our guest, Fran.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here today and coming all the way from Perth.
Thank you for having me. Hello, Melbourne.
And the world.
And the world.
So, Fran, do you want to tell us who is Fran, what are you about, and how do you identify?
Yeah, I'm Fran. I'm a producer from Boorloo, Perth in WA. I make music generally. That's what I do the most now. I started doing that about 6 years ago. I'm also intersex, and I get very confused about how to identify in... I read somewhere something about being like demi, and I think that because I always felt like a girl, but I never felt like a woman. Yeah, I'm a mother of 5 children.
Amazing.
Yeah, but I didn't find out that I was intersex until a year ago. Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah, so I knew that I had a bunch of various different sort of conditions that were causing me difficulty with fertility. I never got a period when I was young. I ended up going off to gynecologist who gave me sort of hormones and things to see what would happen, and then I would get periods if they pushed enough hormones into me. But no one ever told me that what I had was an intersex condition. And last year I was at one of those seminars where they send you away for some professional development to do with my day job. And it was about a whole range of issues to do with gender and sex and sexuality and all that. And I thought, I'll be fine with this. I'm a very accepting sort of person. That's what I thought going in. And then the person who gave the lecture, his name was Kai. And Kai said, do you realise that intersex is actually more common than having red hair? And I went, wow, that's strange because I don't know any intersex people at all, and it's more common than red hair. And then he said, and I'll just put up a slide to show you, people are mistaken. They think it's the same as being a hermaphrodite, and it's not. Here's a list of common conditions, and by no means a limiting list, that are intersex conditions. And I looked up and there was mine. And I was like,
God.
and it was a really interesting moment because I thought I was accepting, and I think I am accepting. And it was like, how do I deal with this? You know what I mean? Because it's actually easier to be accepting of other people than it is of yourself. And so I thought about it really quick. And after about 30 seconds or something, I was like, ooh, looks like I'm intersex. And and I'm in this Zoom meeting that has maybe 200 people there, and I could see the guy Kai, I could see his face, you know, like they probably actually recorded this. I should say, hey, Kai, have you got a copy of that? Because I want to go back to see the look on his face at the time he read the chat message.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I think I said, turns out I'm intersex. That's what it, turns out.
And so you wrote that in the chat?
Yeah, so everyone could read it, sort of thing. It's because I thought you can't go into it and say, oh, I'm accepting, you know, I'm such an accepting person, and then find out something about yourself and then be so non-accepting that you won't even admit it, you know. So that was what I did.
That was a quick moment of exception.
Yeah, so I should ask Kai if the recording's available, because I really want to see, because the look on
Yeah. I mean,
his
that would
face.
be a pretty powerful thing to have as well. Just if you had that recorded, like the
Yeah.
moment maybe you could even like see your face being like,
I'm not sure. I probably had my own camera turned off, I think.
right. Okay. Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. I'm not, yeah. But so that was when I found out. And then shortly after that, I posted something on my Instagram about it, you know, about how, what a surprise it was to find out after, you know, having 5 children and to then find out that I'm intersex.
Yeah.
And almost immediately a relative who looks at my Instagram contacted me and said, you shouldn't post that. People are going to think you've got a dick.
Oh my God.
And then I did another post almost right after that said something like, I can't remember the exact words I used, but it said something like, after my post saying that I was only just found out that I'm intersex, someone contacted me saying, everyone's going to think I've got a dick. And then I said, if I had a dick, it probably wouldn't have come as a surprise that I was intersex.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was funny because it started a conversation, and I was at my music production school the next day, and there were some other people there. And this woman says to me, you know, I never really thought about it, but I guess you can't really see whether your vagina looks the same or different to everybody else's. And I said, I do believe my vagina does look the same as everybody else's.
Yeah.
And then she looked even more sort of shocked because people don't know anything about it. And, it can mean a lot of really different things for different people.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So learning about that, it was so recent.
Yeah.
Did that impact your perception that you already had on gender and sexuality and, I mean, maybe even your identity? Did learning the word change anything for you?
It changed a lot of things, to be honest. For a start, I felt relieved. I felt incredibly relieved when I found that out because I was always under the impression that I was like a failed woman. You know, a woman who couldn't get pregnant properly, a woman who couldn't mature into having periods properly, a woman who... And it was like, well, actually, it's not that I'm a failed woman. It's that I'm intersex. And that is different. That's not being a failure.
Yeah.
That's just being different. And so it was actually quite a good feeling for me. And it also made sense as to why I never really felt like a woman. I never felt like a real woman because I wasn't a woman. So when I was a girl, I felt like a girl.
Yeah.
And then you're this age and you don't feel like a girl.
Yeah.
But you don't feel like a woman.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, the more time has passed, I think at the point when I was this failing woman, you know, that's how I felt about myself inside, that I was a failed woman. I was much more conscious of this gender stuff, you know, oh, that's a boy or that's a girl or I've got a perfect girl or a perfect boy. Not that it was like in contrast to being intersex, I just didn't know about it, you know. I felt so imperfect that was what I was kind of looking for. But more and more recently, and it was independent, I guess, of finding out I was intersex. I don't know. But more and more recently, I see people as people.
Yeah.
And I don't see people as their sex at all. At all.
Yeah.
And it's just really strange. Like in Germany, for example, the word for a female chest or a male chest, it's the same. It's just chest. It's not like breasts and chest. It's just chest.
Okay.
And And I think it's cool that way, that we put these differences there, that they may be there, but why are we focusing on those ones? You know, why are we focusing on... We don't focus on whether someone has blue or brown eyes, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I don't understand why. And I don't understand why we have a belief, because all these things are cultural, I think.
Yeah.
That certain attributes are masculine and certain attributes are feminine. I don't believe that either. I've had 5 children now, all girls, but each one is so different in expression in every single way, in terms of what they like to wear, in terms of whether they play with trucks or whether they play with dolls or whether they play with both, and just everything. And a lot of these things are supposedly differences whether they're masculine or feminine, and I don't think so.
Yeah.
So, I think a lot of it is really a cultural thing and not anything about biology at all. If you look in my home, my hubby is absolutely the most gentle, loving, committed parent in a way that people would say that was feminine. You know?
Like a motherly thing.
Yeah, but parenting is not masculine or feminine. It's, you know, kids survive because people want to be parents. So, so I think I've learnt a lot, and my view has changed more and more over time. But when you find out that, like when you really think about it and you come to terms with the fact that there are as many intersex people as people with red hair, seriously, you then start to try and reconstruct in your head this whole notion of boy and girl and male and female and what's all that mean.
I mean, everything you're saying is things that I think about quite regularly, and I think a lot of people, especially in the intersex community, you kind of are forced to have these thoughts. I feel, you know, even though some people in the intersex community, you know, identify as like cisgender, or they you know, their intersex variation doesn't, you know, impact them very much and they don't want to identify with that. It's like still learning about it makes you have these questions about gender and makes you have these, it makes you think a lot about, you know, the structure of male and female, masculine and feminine, and what our society has taught us. And I know a lot of other people also in the queer community also really delve into the topic of gender debate and everything like that. But yeah, so these everything that you're saying is just very important thoughts. I think that everyone should be thinking about at some stage in their life, like even people who, you know, might not have ever thought about it before. Like I always say it's a really good idea to just take a step back, maybe just open up a book and just write about your thoughts about gender and see what comes out. And I've read a lot of different books about people's experiences, like not just intersex people, but people's experience about exploring the whole masculine and feminine societal construct. There's a few really good resources there for people to go and look, but I definitely think people should just like turn into themselves and ask themselves those questions and kind of come to this understanding that a lot of us have, that the world doesn't have to be so binary in the masculine and feminine and everything like that.
Especially now. Especially now, more so than ever before. I was looking at the news earlier this week and there was an article about Britain and about how they're suddenly getting rid of buildings having unisex toilets, and they're making sure there's male toilets and female toilets and saying stuff like, people have a right to be comfortable, you know. And again, that's a lot of conditioning, I think. You know, like it's going to sound terrible, but when My haters will talk about me now. But when you've got women saying they're afraid of, say, a trans person coming into their toilet, they want to be safe. What they're really saying is we're afraid of men. When you think about it, it's not actually the trans person.
Yeah.
They're afraid of men. And people want to blame the trans person or the intersex person or, you know, instead of looking at the root of it. When I was in the Netherlands recently, I think it was at the Schiphol airport. I think that's where it was, or the train station right next to the airport. I knew to go to the toilet, so I went to find the toilets, and they had this really great system where every single toilet was like an enclosed cubicle, but none of them were sex. They were just for people. And then the place where you wash your hands is out in the open.
Yeah.
And I have never felt safer in a toilet in my whole life, because the reality was the actual cubicles were individual for everybody.
Yeah.
And where you were washing your hands was really quite public.
Yeah.
And so having had that experience, I just cannot understand that people are so worried about, you know, sexing toilets. It's just very strange thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just a lot of people haven't really, like I said, haven't delved into like the thoughts about this, and haven't really been, I don't know, exposed or around like people that are too different from them. But yeah, there's a lot to unpack there that you could just really go into and talk about it.
But it's conditioned. It's conditioned to the point where we as a society believed until very, recently, that genetic studies have shown us differently. We believed that all Vikings were men running around doing all the plundering.
Yeah.
And then you find out, oh no, it turns out that these Vikings the warriors were equally women and men.
Yeah.
And it's all come out because of our cultural kind of bias.
Yeah.
And the same at the moment, how there's this big banning going on in the United States of adolescent people having sort of gender transitioning medication and surgery, and banning it, saying this is no good because you should be what you're born, at exactly the same time that they're forcing babies who are intersex to have surgery that's not medically necessary to make them conform, because this, the way you're born, only seems to apply if it's born the way they want you to be born.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the way people are. And that too, I think, fosters these false cultural notions. And I can tell you it is such an incredibly liberating feeling, like the liberation that I got discovering that I wasn't, a female that wasn't crossing the line. And that it wasn't just girls and boys. It was really incredible. And I don't see why a lot of the stuff that they sort of do, it's like, oh, you've got to save children from other children. And that's just bullshit. Other children are so accepting. It's the parents that aren't accepting.
Yeah,
and the culture.
And the children are very understanding as well. Like it's been proven that children can understand a lot more complicated things than they're given credit for. And just the thing with the doctors, it's the same doctors that are, talking about, which I'm sure, like, to some degree they do, like, really care for children. They are concerned for children, but it's the same doctors that are saying, we have to protect the children that are forcibly operating on intersex, forcibly medically intervening with intersex children, and then not even entertaining the idea of, like, adolescent transgender kids. But, I mean, it's a very complicated topic. Yeah.
It is a really complicated topic.
Yeah.
Partly because you're dealing with years and years of ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty sad. So, and I think the more there are podcasts like this one, the more that people will feel free to talk about these things and not to hide them.
Yeah. That's definitely the aim of this podcast, is to be able to just have open conversations about this kind of stuff and stuff that happens in the queer community, and mostly in the intersex community, but also in the queer community, and just explore these topics and talk about them openly, and then also have, mainly young intersex people seeing lots of people own their innate sex variations and their different identities and what they do and all of this stuff. So I guess we'll talk into about what you do. So you are a music producer.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's amazing that, like, because I'm also an Aussie music intersex person. So it's great to have you here. And there's not many of us. I mean, I only know you and me. And then recently I've just met one other person who is a muso who is also intersex. But there is, virtually no representation for us.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Like, I was so excited to have the opportunity to come meet you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for exactly the same reason. I don't really know anybody else.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And also because I've heard your music, which is awesome.
Yeah, as is yours.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I guess the intersex thing has had some, not really that much, but some bearing on music production. I think after I found out that I was intersex, I thought, well, hang on, there's not really very many, queer anthems and especially not intersex. I don't know of any intersex anthems.
Yeah.
So I thought I'll try and write one.
Yeah.
And I haven't released it yet, but maybe by the time the podcast is out, it'll be released. So you can.
There you go. I'll be including it if it's been released. I'll be including it, and there'll be all links to Fran's social media and everything as well. But do you want to talk about your music, your journey with music, kind of where you started, what kind of music you do, everything?
I'd love to. I started. I just decided that I really, really, it was getting to a point where I thought I'm kind of getting on, and I've never ever pursued my dream, and I really, really wanted to pursue my dream, and I just didn't have any idea how. And then I found out about a music production school called Lab 6 in WA, where I am, and I thought, I'll give that a go. And I went and did one of their courses and worked on what they call a digital audio workstation, a DAW, called Ableton, and that's the only kind of program that I've ever used to make music, although there are loads of other good ones. And I've been doing that for about 6 years, and I started out making kind of poppy kind of house stuff. And then I had a song, Mind it was called, and that made the Western Oz radio top 20 the year that was released, which I think was I think that was 2020, something like that. And then in 2020 my brother passed away very unexpectedly, and that was pretty sad. And I wrote a song about that, which was actually quite an upbeat house track, and that song actually got a WAM, which is WA Music Song of the Year nomination in 2021. Awesome. So that was a top 5 song in the Song of the Year, which was awesome. And then, I mean, I've continued making music since then, and it's been played all around Australia, really. And then at the beginning of this year, to my utter surprise and pleasure, I had a song, I Found You, that got played on Triple J.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm Australia's oldest emerging artist, you know,
Yay!
like on Triple J.
Triple J on Earth.
Yeah, because it's quite hard to get on youth radio when you're not youth. Even though I make music for youth, well, for all people, but I think youth really tend to like house more than people my age.
Yeah.
And I also started writing music for, you know, which is designed for television or games or film, stuff like that. And an opportunity came along not so long ago to write a film theme song for a horror film.
Oh, nice.
The Housemate, which is having its premiere on the 25th of August over in Perth.
Cool. That's soon.
Yeah, very soon. And that film has been around the film festivals, not all of them, but a lot of them. And out of the film festivals it's been to so far, it won Best Movie Theme at the New York Film Awards called the Anaros, which was great.
Congrats.
And then it's a horror film, so there's a horror festival called the Bloody Hats Festival, which I think is in Stuttgart in Germany. And it won Best Movie Music or something, which is just awesome. So I'm so excited about that and the film premiere. And apparently I'm going to make a music video. You know, one of those composite ones? It's bits from the movie and little bits of you, soon. So I'm excited about that. And then I decided, why don't I produce a film? So that's what I'm working on at the moment, producing a film. I've got the soundtrack done.
Awesome.
Filming's, it may well be. If you have me back sometime next year, there'll actually be a film. So
oh my God, yeah.
It's pretty close.
Do you know, are you able to talk about anything to do with the film, or you kind of want to keep it under wraps?
No, I can talk about the film if you want.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a comedy, and it's set at a production school during COVID. And I just feel so fortunate because the most amazing artists have acted in it. So there's a lovely queer artist called Project Bex, and she is one of the leads. There's a fellow who goes under the artist name Wild Alliance, and he's a male lead. There's even Raya Lee. I don't know if you've heard of Raya Lee, but have you heard of Shock One, the drum and bass artist? She has done some amazing songs like The Dark Machine, and also amazing music by herself. She's Any Girl. She's in it. Tina Says is in it. So a lot of really great artists have just, and I'm just so honoured and flattered that all these amazing people have just had faith in me and showed up. So yeah, I think it's going to end up being quite a funny film, and
brilliant.
It'll have good music for sure.
Of course, yeah.
So we'll see how that goes, but I'm really excited about it. It's sort of the next step in a project of like just trying to find out where I fit in the industry, find a place for me. And how about your music, Bloom?
Well, so, we released our second single this year. Our first and our second. We somehow managed to do 2 music videos, 2 single releases, 2 merch releases, everything in the span of like 2 months, or 3 months. So that was a lot, and we were kind of changing plans here and there about what we were going to do in terms of release, and we're like, okay, we're going to release this song, and then 6 weeks later this one, then 6 weeks later this one, then 6 weeks later this one. But we found that we mostly just wanted to finally have something out there, and have something, you know, that people could go and look at, because we were meeting people and saying, oh, you know, we do music, and then we didn't have anything. So it was mostly important to get something out there and to just kind of establish ourselves as a duo and as a branding kind of perspective, you know, kind of have our vibe going. And then we decided that we wanted to focus on live shows. So we got 2 new members. We've got a really awesome bassist and a drummer our drummer's from Perth, actually. Yeah, he's just moved here. And so we just started rehearsing. But then we missed a couple weeks because our drummer cut his hand open. But now we're back. He's all good. Yeah. And now we've literally had a rehearsal on Monday just recently. And we were like, yeah, we're pretty much ready for live shows now. So yeah, we're going to really just like start hammering out the live shows. If you're in Melbourne, if you're listening to this and you're in Melbourne, you know, stay updated on my Instagram, but Mystic Tea Party. We're going to be playing. We're going to be taking over Melbourne. And I guess just, yeah, doing as much live stuff as we can. And then my sister is going to be doing a music video for us with one of her friends. And then we're going to, yeah, kind of just start releasing again as well after that. After we've got live shows kind of under control a little bit. But yeah, we're really excited. I mean, it's just been such a long thing coming. We were a COVID baby. Yeah. Mystic Tea Party was our, you know, our little baby that we had in the incubator waiting to come out. And it was just a couple years, yeah, of just writing songs and, you know, being like, one day we'll release it, one day we'll release it. And then, yeah, this year was the time. It just so happened like that things were kind of aligning and the universe was like pointing that like, this is something kind of just like, hurry up, like it's time to do it now. And it's just fun, you know, it's just fun to be doing something that you love so much. You know, I know you understand. Yep. And just doing it for you because it feels good and because of, yeah, your expression and everything you want to put into it. It's yours. You can do whatever you want to it.
Yeah, I'm certainly glad you did because the music is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, it's, yeah, Seb and I make a great team, I think. Yeah. And we are excited about all the new songs. And then we also just have, I mean, we were basically a song factory for a while and we were writing all of these different songs but experimenting with like the genre. Yeah. So there's a few songs that I don't know if they'll ever see the light of day, but they're still good songs. Yeah. And now, even now we're writing new songs. And then Seb was just working on one of our newest ones the other day and it's always just like, we start off with a blank canvas because I write all the songs just on the guitar and then I give it to Seb and then he's just like, okay, let me see what I can do. And then he always makes something really awesome. But yeah, he was just working off like the basic chords, the basic template that we usually have. Yeah. And yeah, I could only hear like a tiny little bit through his headphone, but I'm like, oh, I already feel like it's going to sound good, like always. But yeah.
Oh, well, I look forward to hearing more.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing more from you as well. I mean, yeah, I will say Fran just showed me one of her new songs and it's fucking awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that song?
Mechanical Heart?
Yeah.
I wrote that really recently, actually, in the last few weeks. And I suppose it's a song about being heartbroken, but I know people would listen to it and automatically assume it's like you've had a bad romantic breakup or something, but it's not about that. It's about just kind of being heartbroken by things that happen in life, just general things, you know, by loss and other unexpected traumas and how it... So I guess what I did was, as a metaphor, use this idea of not having a human heart anymore. Of your heart gets broken, so you exchange it for a mechanical one that does the job of pumping blood around your body but doesn't really help you to be a feeling human being.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think people can take what they want from it.
Yeah. You do such a good job of making your songs very lyrically powerful and then also just such an epic soundscape. It's very good talent that you've got there, Fran.
Oh, well, I'm so lucky in that because I have really amazing mentors that help me.
Yeah.
And I also have a process.
Oh, what's your process? Take us through the process.
Oh, well, I mean, when I write a song, very often someone from my lab at Lab 6 will be looking at it, checking it, giving me ideas to improve it.
Cool.
Then I often send my songs off to an online group called the Forbidden Society, who give music feedback.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you pay a sort of a subscription to them, which is not that much. I think it's about $20 a month or something like that. Mm-hmm. And they'll have various people who listen to the song and give you very technical, like sound engineer type advice about the song.
Nice.
And then you can patch it up a bit and send it back. And then there's another couple of Twitch streams that I like using very much. There's Tails Beats. He's a guy in Canada and he's got a Twitch stream, and another guy called Kelland, I think he's got a Twitch stream, and I think Pauline Herr, she's got a Twitch stream. And then I'll send, when I think it's getting there, then I'll often send the music off to them. And again, depending on who you send it to, you get a lot of feedback that can be anything from technical to just about what isn't sounding right or is sounding right, or could you put more of an effect on your vocal here, or it's a bit pitchy here, or put an effect in here. And so it's actually
amazing that you found this. Where did you find all of this stuff?
I don't know. Just over 6 years of continually making music, and I'm always looking for connection.
Yeah.
Just like my connection with you. I think I just wrote to you, didn't I?
Yeah. Yeah. You
so you were an unsuspecting victim, and I just saw you and I thought, I'll write to you. So,
nice.
Yeah, so just like that.
Awesome.
And much the same with the Forbidden Society, which seems to have a huge number of people from the States and a huge number of people who've been working there, like sending feedback, and like me have gone on to submit music to, say, Sable Valley and had it accepted. And Sable Valley is the label for R.L. Grimes' own record label, I think. But essentially I'm open to anybody who will listen to my music and improve it before I release it. Have
amazing.
Ideas. Yeah. So it's a bit complicated and some of it's not that exciting. But I suppose I just want to get the best tracks that I can. But primarily I think it starts with having a really great bunch of teachers and mentors that are very, very helpful.
Well, so I know you said that your intersex identity has only mildly bred into your production work.
It had no. It's not that it's mild. It didn't precipitate it. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I think it really is in my production work a lot. So like for instance that anthem that I've done that hopefully will be released by the time this comes out. It's very much, it's like 100% influenced by my experience of being queer, of being different, and how great it is to acknowledge it. People don't realise, particularly, say, medical profession people that are doing what they can to make you fit in. Fitting in is not the same as belonging. And if you're fitting in, you never feel like you belong. You never do. And to be aware of what is actually, who I am and who everybody is, because it's given me a much better awareness of who everybody is, not just myself, is such an empowering feeling. To not have to be ashamed of who you are, to not have to hide who you are. I think it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
And that whole premise of trying to make people fit into boxes because society says so is probably one of the most painful things that people can endure.
Yeah.
And the fact that it is so incredibly stark for intersex people doesn't mean that it doesn't affect everybody. And sometimes I think things like that make everybody feel alienated whether they realise it or not. Because it kind of promotes this belief that there are certain people who are right and there are certain people who are wrong. And that's not how it is at all. Not how it is. So, so I think it's had a really big effect, especially feeling empowered like that and deciding to be open. When you decide to be open, your creativity is always going to improve compared to when you're closed, closed to the world. And then you're watching what you say all the time to an extent that you just can't openly think about these things. So in that sense, I think being open to what I discovered about myself has been really, really important for my creativity and has been a really potent catalyst. And I would say, without a doubt, that since I discovered that technically I'm intersex, which is a medical diagnosis, it's not like, a so-called preference. Not that I believe in so-called preferences. I think people are who they are. Yeah. And we want to say, oh, you could be something different if you want, but people actually are who they are. But since I've been open about it, I think my lyrics have improved out of sight, and just the whole musicality of what I do has improved a lot. Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. So looking ahead in your life, what role do you want to play, if any, in your position as a intersex music producer? What messages do you kind of want to get across to people, and where do you really envision the intersex community going? Like, where would you like to see it?
Well, firstly, I'd very much like for songs like the song that I'm releasing shortly, that they become really well known and really well played.
Yeah.
Because that song was designed that the lyrics are really easy to hear, they're catchy, and people can sing it. And when you sing it, I believe it's very empowering for any person to sing the chorus lyrics in particular. So I hope that music will be something that will be played in clubs and people will dance to it and learn the lyrics, and hoping that it'll become something that's very popular, so the whole topic of being intersex or being queer can just be open and not be kind of stamped out as people that seem to be trying to do, particularly in the States at the moment. I'm actually also starting to become with a group that's just starting in WA called the Queer Arts Alliance, and that is more like an advocacy group that recognises, well, just by being a musician, you end up being discriminated against all the time, in terms of things like superannuation happening, in terms of rates of pay. For some reason, I don't know why, you see musicians all the time, like unbelievable percentage, doing these charity shows, where they're going 100% of these proceeds are going to one charity or another. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it upsets me because I'm very well aware that the musicians doing these shows are earning so little for the work that they're doing in the first place. And there's almost like there's an expectation of the starving artist, that artists that are touring are going to be, only able to couch surf and not have decent accommodation, and they're going to be touring around in some crappy old van, and they're going to be paid according to that. And I want that to change in the first place, but then to also be queer and an artist, it just compounds all the prejudice and difficulty. And again, looking at the States where they're trying to ban drag shows, and that just blows my brain. Look, honestly, if I was in the States as a male and they're banning drag shows, well, I'd just dress as a founding father reading something or other, because you're just in costume then, but you're also got your wig, your stockings and your makeup on.
Yeah.
Exactly as they did just then. And again, that goes to show how crazy it is that people are so culturally influenced, that only a few hundred years ago guys were wearing wigs and stockings and makeup and it was just perfectly every day. And also like how in France the colour of a baby boy was pink.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Originally the boy colour was pink, not blue.
Wow.
And we're just so used to blue and pink being boy, all this stuff. It's just cultural. It's not what everyone makes out for it to be. So, I mean, and like how recently there's been all sorts of frightening neo-Nazi outcry over trans people or drag people doing readings, children's poetry readings and things, to the point that places haven't been able to host them because they're scared their buildings will get burnt down.
God.
And when I think about one of my absolute favourite films of all time, I don't know if you've seen it, you know, Mrs. Doubtfire with Robin Williams, and no one freaked out about it then, you know, in what was that, late 80s, early 90s. And the whole ending of the show, the ending of the whole movie was when Mrs. Doubtfire, the character, gets her own show with story time. It actually ends with story time.
Yeah.
And
that's so true.
Yeah, it just blows my brain that people are freaking out about it now.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, everyone in the world like holds that movie as like a real wholesome movie. So that's a great point.
And no one thought Robin Williams was criminal because he played Mrs. Doubtfire.
Exactly.
Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. So I'm hoping that involving in the Queer Arts Alliance will help people somehow. I'm not exactly sure how just yet, but I'm really hopeful that there can be some advocacy and networking. Yeah. So
nice.
So that's part of the future. But I think my big dream for music is to actually be able to eke out a living. You know, eke out enough earnings that it would be a self-supporting activity.
Totally.
Because I love it so much. I love being creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you are very creative and you've got so much awesome art just like waiting for the whole world to see. So do you want to give a shout out to yourself and tell everyone where they can find you and your music?
Gee, I should have thought about this before. But I'm on Spotify. The easiest way to find me on Spotify is just to write Fran, because I'm Fran, but there's millions of Frans.
Yeah.
And then just write the song I Found You. That's the song that ended up being played on Triple J. But if you do a Spotify search for Fran, I Found You, then you'll find me on Spotify. And then just so you don't forget, press follow. That would be really useful.
Absolutely.
I'm on Instagram, Gotta Love Fran Music. I think Facebook is the same, Gotta Love Fran or Gotta Love Fran.
It'll
Music.
all be linked below as well.
Yeah, so that's how you find me. And in terms of other things, like my movie, we'll have to wait and see how it goes in post-production. And
yeah, can't wait.
Out. Yeah. So.
Very exciting. All right, well, thank you so much for coming on. I loved having you here and having someone in the flesh and being able to kind of just have a more fluid conversation and everything like that. It's been great.
Oh, I didn't think it was I thought it was me. You know.
Of course it was you.
No, thank you so much for having me. I've really, really enjoyed
being.
I really appreciate what you do. So
yeah, thank you. I mean, I love doing it, and I'm going to keep doing it. And yeah, I'm just really also very, very grateful that I have, you know, people like you who you're the one who reached out to me and was keen to get on the podcast and tell your story. And you have a really interesting, awesome story. And you're an inspiration.
Oh, thanks.
And if anyone wants to see more of this and you're liking these episodes and you want to see more people like Fran get up here and talk about themselves and intersex and then other things that they love doing and just platforming intersex people and queer people and everything like that, I'd really appreciate it if you follow me and follow Fran, and yeah, just share this around and share the love. And also Fran's music on Spotify. My music on Spotify is Mystic Tea Party. So if you want to support some intersex artists, you know what to do. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.